Hi everyone, welcome to today's Experience Grad York session. I didn't get in, now what? Today we have Eileen Watson, our graduate recruitment and liaison officer, presenting this session. Take it away, Eileen.
All right, thank you. And thank you everyone for attending this evening, our second to last Faculty of Graduate Studies Experience Grad York session. Some of you, I'm sure, have been attending sessions throughout the past couple of days. Um, this is our second last session apart from our student panel, which is happening tomorrow at noon. So if you're wanting to hear from current students, definitely stop on by Friday at noon. But I've also, I'm sure, seen some of you at our faculty information sessions. This one is a little bit different because we are essentially going to go over the top 9 reasons for refusal. So, or why people do not get into grad studies at York. So you may be here because you're nervous or anxious about your application, and for some reason you think you won't get in, or you've applied before and you weren't admitted. So either way, you're in the right place. Hopefully, no matter what, you can gain a little bit of understanding of the process and why you might not be accepted or not have been accepted. But the presentation is about grad studies at York. So um, information may or may not be applicable to other schools, but it's designed to be applicable to York. If there's overlap, it's coincidental. But we'll talk about what a master's is, eligibility, application numbers, a breakdown, and then we'll go through the refusal reasons and how to combat them or kind of become inadmissible if you find yourself in that category. So presentation takes about half an hour, but we will have an open Q&A at the end. So just a super basic overview of what a master's degree is. We're not going to really discuss PhD admission because if you got into a master's, generally you have a much better understanding of the PhD admissions process. But master's degrees, if you're unfamiliar, it's the first degree level of grad studies. You can pursue one after you've finished your undergraduate or your bachelor's degree. Usually masters are 1 to 2 years in length, and the requirements or the format of a master's traditionally is one of these three formats: coursework only, major research project, or thesis. Coursework only being 8 to 10 courses, that's it. Major research paper being six-ish courses plus a small research project, and thesis-based being 4 courses and a large research project. So there's some programs that have outside of that traditional structure, but for the most part, that's what you're looking for. A big difference, or lots of differences between undergraduate and graduate level study. Master's degrees are definitely not just a continuation of your undergrad study. So you'll notice that your degree or your program is much more focused on research. You'll have much more faculty contact. Degrees are much more self-directed. It is very possible to be a full-time student and not be enrolled in any courses, but you're doing research full-time at some point during your program. And grad school goes year-round. So fall, winter, and summer registration is expected of every student in every program. To be eligible, you need to have a honors undergraduate degree or the equivalent. We'll put the equivalent, international equivalency in the chat in case you studied outside of Canada. But we are looking at your GPA or your grade point average of the last 2 full-time years or the equivalent at the time that you apply. The only way this isn't applicable is if you already have a master's, in which case we would use your master's grades or your second master's admissions. But sometimes, well, I'll go over what a B plus on different grading scales is, as you can see, 77 out of 100, 7 out of 9, 3.3 out of 4. Second class upper division or 2 to 1, 16, 15, 16 out of 20, 4 out of 5. So sometimes people say like, oh, wasn't like admitted to the program and I really have no idea why. Number one is accurately measuring yourself against program or degree eligibility. Do you truly meet the minimum requirements in terms of the degree that you have and the GPA that you hold? So just keep that in mind. For admissions decisions, each individual grad program adjudicates their own admissions. So it is a committee of faculty members in that program who teach and supervise within that program who are making decisions. Sometimes there's a staff member or two on a committee, sometimes a senior PhD student or two, but for the most part, faculty. So central admissions, we are um, collecting your applications, making sure the documentation is right, calculating your GPA. But once all the logistics have been sorted out, your file lives with that program. So that is who is making the decision. That is who essentially you're curating your application for. So a bit of information about the applications itself. Every program only has a certain number of spots per year. So X amount of spots total. So at the master's level, it can vary so widely between programs, but across every program at York, it can be as little as 4 or as high as 75. It will also fluctuate year to year. So um, a lot of programs don't advertise how many spots they have or how many people they accept. But graduate admissions are much smaller than undergraduate, which is very normal. Like undergraduate is the biggest pool, then master's, and then PhD even smaller, just because fewer people do um, graduate degrees, especially doctoral. There are always more applications than there are spots in the program. Every year, every program, every degree level. And even if a program say they have 2 spots. I mean, these are obviously fake numbers. Say if there's 2 spots in a program. If they were to receive 2 applications, they're not necessarily going to accept them just to accept them. It's very possible that they wouldn't accept any if they don't feel that that application or applicant is a good fit for the program. So there are different buckets of admissions or of student, and every category of student has its own allowance. So domestic, international, full-time, part-time specializations. Often there are fewer international spots than there are domestic. And that's on purpose. The Ontario government allocates a lot of graduate funding to domestic students. So domestic education is heavily subsidized by the taxes that domestic students pay, but every bucket is different. So when you're applying as an international or domestic student, you're not competing against like if you're international, you're not competing against domestic applicants, you're competing against international. Each program only has so many faculty members. So especially in a program where you're doing a thesis or a major research paper and you need to have a faculty member that you work with, one supervisor or a supervisor in a committee. So each faculty member can only commit to advising so many students. And keep in mind, they probably, in any given year, already have PhD students at various levels, already have master's students, maybe have undergraduate thesis students, also have a teaching load, also have course or research of their own, and they have service as well. Like they are so busy, and you don't want a supervisor who is so stretched thin that they don't even have any time left for you. So it may be like, oh, like I would love to be the one extra person taken on, but that really dilutes the experience. So one thing to remember, though, is that the vast majority of graduate programs at York read every single completed application. So almost every program accepts materials that allow you to describe your experiences and your extenuating circumstances. There are some programs that do a GPA cutoff. So they would say, okay, yes, our stated minimum is X, 78, 77, 78. But because of the high volume of applications at such a high level, we are not going to consider anyone who has below an 85. That does sometimes happen. The cutoff could be different year to year depending on the pool of applicants. But off the top of my head, hyper competitive programs, social work, psychology, and computer science at the international level, or in the international pool. But for almost every other program, They are reading all of their applications. So, um, yeah, definitely don't defeat yourself before you apply in most cases. There is no one size admission advice that I can give you for admission. If there was an exact formula that would get you accepted to a graduate program, I would just tell you. I would give it to you. I would shout it from the rooftops and say, come to grad studies at York, do LMNOP, and you will get Z. But it doesn't exist, so I can't do that. All you can do is put forward your absolute best application and leave it with the admissions committee. Always remember, it is never a reflection of you as a person, whether you get admitted or not. It's a decision that has so many factors that you're definitely not privy to all of them, but it's not personal and it's not a reflection of your essential value as a person. So, potential reasons for refusal. From the top, low GPA, having a 3 or a general degree, having an unrelated degree, poor references, poorly written statement of interest, not a good fit for research topics, or no supervisor availability. We're going to go, each one has its own slide, so don't worry about writing them down or what have you. It is your responsibility, if you are not accepted, to take a look at the stated requirements and you compare your documents and your profile and to do a accurate, authentic assessment on what those discrepancies might be. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, it's people will say like, "Oh, I didn't get in and I don't know why." They had a C GPA. It's like 25 points below where it needs to be. So we can certainly build up to a place where you would become admissible, but it's not a surprise why you wouldn't get accepted if number one, you didn't meet the GPA requirement. So sometimes as well, you may be looking at the requirement list in your file and you're like, truly, there is no difference. I meet every single requirement. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's just so much competition that you can do everything right. You can meet or exceed all the requirements and not get accepted. So it's very frustrating, I know, but all you can do is try your best and potentially try again. Grad programs, it's a lot like applications where they don't give individual feedback to each applicant. Sometimes if you connect with a program and you're like, hey, I'm just looking for feedback, like I want to try again next year, they may be able to tell you XYZ. But it could also be like, you've got a 92 average, but we had 100 people, and these are fake numbers, of course. We had 100 people apply who had a 97. So we didn't even get to the 92s. But um, that there's not, you know, a ton of unicorns running around who have like 100 average, and all of them are applying to the same program. These are just potential scenarios to illustrate my point. I know it can be a really frustrating process. It's just there's not resources there to explain to every single individual applicant, this is the reason why you didn't get in. Sometimes it's a combination of factors. But let's dive in and we'll go into each one in more detail. So first up, GPA, or having a low GPA in particularly. Your GPA is the foundation of your application. One of the best predictors of future academic performance is past academic performance. So the closer you are to your undergrad experience, the more the GPA matters. Like if you graduated last year and you got a GPA of 2 out of 4, that's different from someone who graduated 25 years ago and their GPA is 2 out of 4 because they've had more time and experience to improve their skill set. So remember, we're calculating your GPA using your last 2 years of full-time grades or the equivalent. A rocky first year virtually never counts. It is absolutely a myth that you need to have been a perfect student all 4 years to be accepted to a master's. If that was the case, and I say this all the time, we'd have 3 students in a tumbleweed. We would not have over 6,000 graduate students at York. So if you, sometimes people like in their first year, they got debarred because they did so poorly and then had to wait 2 years, came back, rocked it, you know, like your life can completely fall apart. Your academics can completely, like grades, GPA, nosedive off a cliff. It is never too late to come back from that. So I can't think of a situation in which it's so bad that there is no redemption. If your GPA is below the requirement, but you have significant work experience, so 10, 15, 20 plus years, that work or volunteer experience, it can quote unquote overcome a low GPA. There are some programs for which this isn't the case. Like for social work, a hyper-competitive program, they're already expecting you to have hundreds and hundreds of hours of experience in addition to a high GPA. But if it's, I'm thinking about like human resource management, um, public policy administration and law, education, all of these are programs that highly value professional experience and often have people applying who have been out of school for decades even. And so they, barely remember their university studies, but they've done so much since. Sometimes I get like, oh, I am currently a student and I have a couple years of work experience, which is great, but it won't overcome a GPA when you're still so close to your undergraduate studies. As well, a career like a career built over time, usually, successive roles and multiplying responsibilities, that kind of thing. Um, it's just like a sustained, ongoing situation in terms of like, or compared against like summer jobs or a part-time job, that kind of thing. It's not that it's bad whatsoever. The only reason you're not there is because you're probably younger. That's it. But in select cases, you may wish to upgrade your GPA. So sometimes people are like, oh, I'll do a postgraduate certificate or a diploma or what have you. If you want to do those things for the sake of doing them, or to further your purpose into something else, that's great. But do not take them to upgrade for the purposes of graduate admission because we don't use those grades. We only use undergraduate and graduate courses, credit courses, to calculate your GPA. Every new course you take alters your GPA calculation. So if we are a York student and we're looking at your last 60 credits, if you were to take 3 credits as a non-degree student or a visiting student, then it bumps the last 3 credits out of the calculation and adds this new 3. So you can be a visiting or a non-degree student at York if you wish. We have that option. Sometimes it only takes 1 or 2 courses getting an A, and that can alter your GPA. Other times it takes some more. Like if you're someone who, barely graduated or you got debarred after a certain amount of time and your GPA, it starts with a 0, which I have seen before. You would need to take a lot more. It is not impossible. It's never impossible. It's a matter of putting in the work. So you would have to be committed and dedicated in order to make it happen, but it's possible. If you retake an identical course code at the same university, we count the second grade attempt no matter which one is higher. So sometimes you may want to retake just one course, other times you want to retake others. Sometimes it's worth taking new courses instead of just retaking older courses. Truly depends on what the content was. Like I've talked to people who are like, um, uh, I did like really poorly in one of my science electives for my Bachelor of Arts degree. Um, that's okay. They don't really care if you did poorly in botany when you're doing a political science degree. It's more so if you have a poor grade in like quantitative methods. That would be pretty important for the grad level. So that might be something that you want to retake and get a higher grade in. That's a matter of subjective, for sure. If you want to upgrade, and again, I can't stress enough, college certificates, post um, postgraduate certificates, diplomas, the grades are not used. Um, if York isn't an option for whatever reason, when you're wanting to upgrade, because sometimes like the thing at York is that courses are prioritized for undergraduate students trying to get their degrees. Then if there are um, spaces left over, they could go to non-degree or visiting students. There are places where you can take that offer undergraduate credit courses that are geared towards people not within a degree program. So two recommendations I have are Athabasca, which is an online university out of Alberta, and the Chang School at TMU. It is a continuing studies department, but they do offer credit courses, by which I mean we would use those to count towards your um, upgraded GPA. But yeah, GPA, I would say, is one of the biggest reasons why people would not be considered. And the thing is, you have to showcase academic success or preparedness or readiness in some way. And the best, most straightforward way to do it is by getting high grades at the undergraduate level. I know it's tricky. I know, you've got to work to pay your tuition. You've got to take care of family members. You may be in the sandwich generation where you've got young kids and parents at the same time. It is hard, but you don't have to do like finish a 4-year degree and get all A's and finish quote unquote on time. Like the timeline that you use is the perfect timeline. It doesn't matter. If you take a little bit longer, no problem. There may be schools that care about that thing. York doesn't. I would think you'll find that a lot of people here are very understanding of extenuating circumstances and second chances and trying again. So I think it also garners a lot of respect when you're willing to put in the work to um, maybe if you're at point A and you need to get to point B, getting yourself there. A lot of respect for that. Another reason why people may or may not be accepted if PowerPoint will cooperate here is if you have a 3-year or a general degree. Sometimes another term for it is an ordinary degree. These were much more common years ago, but sometimes people, if you don't have the GPA to graduate with an honors, sometimes they'll offer you the 3-year general, ordinary, etc. So if you're a recent grad and you have this 3-year, 90 credit general ordinary degree, before you apply, I would recommend returning to upgrade to the honors degree, which is the 4-year degree, the 120 credit degree. At York, if you finished a general within the last 18 months, I think it is, you can reactivate at no charge to take additional coursework. And again, if you need to take that coursework while working full time, you can chip away at it one course by one course. Completely fine. If you have a 3-year general ordinary degree, but you have significant and relevant work experience, most programs will fully consider that. So significant and relevant is relative. It could be 10 years, could be 15, could be 20, but not 1 or 2 usually. The thing with work experience too is that like there is no standardization across the board of what 1 year of work experience means because across positions and companies and individuals, like there's not measurement in the same way that there is in academia where you're, measured by the same syllabus and requirements according to the same standards. So it's much trickier. Um, York as an institution as well doesn't do PLAR. So what is it? Prior learning assessment, what have you. Anyway, learning for, earning academic credit for work experience kind of thing. Anyway, if you earned your degree outside of Canada and you do an assessment like WES or ICAS or something like that, and that assessment states that your degree is equivalent to an honors or a 4-year degree, we don't accept that. It has to be the actual degree itself that is the 4-year degree. So the most common example is the 3-year degrees from India. We don't accept those. If you have the WES evaluation that says, yes, this is equivalent to a degree, that's for workforce purposes, not for graduate admissions purposes at York. So if someone's in that situation, you've got a 3-year degree from another country, we would recommend applying as an undergraduate transfer student to a program at York. Usually they will grant you transfer credit for your previous studies, and then it's only a year or two more to get the honors degree. If you're an international transfer student, because sometimes it's like someone is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident who studied in another country and has moved back or moved here since. Sometimes it's someone living abroad currently and wanting to come to grad studies at York. Okay, next up is an unrelated degree. So this matters far more to some programs as opposed to others. So, say for computer science, they really want people who have a computer science background. For some programs, it doesn't matter at all. Like education, you can have any degree under the sun, and it doesn't matter. Like they will accept from a wide variety of backgrounds. Most programs will accept a related degree. So I won't say it's easy, but it's more simple to go from like geography to environmental studies, classics to humanities, criminology to sociology. If you have an unrelated degree, work or volunteer experience can supplement your academic experiences. I'm thinking of like master's degrees that we have that don't have a related undergrad at York, or they're not offered many places. Like the Master of Disaster and Emergency Management, that's not a common degree that you find. So they will accept from any discipline. It's often sometimes people will fall into working maybe for emergency services or emergency response or um, you know, quality assurance isn't the word I'm looking for, but regulation. That's it. Um, or critical disability studies. There are hardly any related undergraduate programs. So, um, definitely ones where you can move around a lot. And then there's like psychology, where you're, especially if you want to go into clinical psychology, having that undergraduate in psychology is essential. If necessary, and this would be up to you to take stock of what your application is sitting at, you could take a few relevant upper year courses in that academic area just to showcase like you can perform well in that area of study. And it might be one course, it might be two, um, but it's a way to supplement and enhance your application. Not mandatory, but maybe if you applied and didn't get in, that could be part of a game plan for another application. Poor references. This is tricky because you can't see what a reference wrote, which is equal parts annoying and frustrating. However, it's meant to protect the process so that they can write freely, of course. So you can ask for a reference in a way where if they're saying yes to a positive reference. So asking, would you be willing to write me a good reference or a positive reference instead of just, would you be willing to write a reference for me? So if they're saying yes to a positive, they are committing to doing that. Most programs will allow you to submit both academic and professional references, so a mixture of the two. Do not use personal references. Friends, family members, I've seen some examples. The thing is, those people can't accurately speak objectively to your preparedness for grad studies. And I mean, maybe it's a sense where like a family member is your manager and, there's some overlap in roles there, but just keep it as a rule, no personal references. Um, we've had sports coaches give them before. That could really go either way because on the one hand, like they're not overseeing anything academic or work from you, but they are seeing you commit and dedicate yourself to something and, improvement, achievement, that kind of thing. So your discretion is use your discretion, but yeah, no personal, academic and professional. Um, Make sure that you're providing references with everything they need to make an informed reference. So, your resume, your transcripts, your statement of interest, a blurb, or the website of the place where you're applying. Literally skills that you think that you want to highlight on the application. Like this program is heavily research based and wants independent workers. Please say that please note my independent skills in your reference. And then they can do that. A lot of people, it's very helpful for them to have parameters and an idea of what is being looked for and materials to help them supplement like what they're saying. Make sure your references know you well enough to give you a reference and that they are someone that can speak to the skills needed to succeed in grad school. It used to be that it was only faculty or professors that could give a reference. Because the purpose is that for someone who's been through grad school before to vouch for you and say like, yes, I've done this and I see this person and their current skills and abilities, and I will vouch for them that I think that they have what it takes to succeed in graduate school. The definition has expanded, so that's certainly helpful. but they need to be someone who has seen you in action, so to speak, and is able to speak to those things. If you feel that you are in a place where you don't have any references, not all is lost. You can build your way up to a reference. So it's the same thing as if like you have a GPA of 0. Okay, that's your new starting point. You can only go up from there. I don't think you can have a negative GPA anyway, but um if you're like I like don't be defeated by what may be currently, look forward to what can be and how can we build from here to there. But to build references, take courses with the same faculty member or members over an extended period of time, like 1 year, next year, getting a part-time job, volunteering. Like it really depends. Um, I see someone asking about a fellow volunteer. It needs to be someone essentially that you are accountable to and that kind of oversees your work or position. That there's that um, reporting relationship almost. So. Next up is a poorly written statement of interest. So if you went to one of the dean's talks, the how to write a statement of interest or the everything you should know about grad school, but they never told you, you'll hear that she mentions that a lot of the application materials are about past things. Your transcript, what happened in the past. Your resume, what happened in the past. Your references, what people have thought of you up till now. Your statement of interest is, in a lot of times, the most personal part of your application, and it's future facing. It's like, here's what I want to do, to be, to achieve, etc. So if you didn't attend the session, we will definitely share, or have shared in the chat, thanks, Gab, the how to write a statement of interest video. We're not giving a direct link to the video because right now the February video is up from the we have the grad open house every October and February. We will replace it in the next 6 weeks with the October one. It's the same slide deck. It's the same person presenting. We just keep it current, but the core information is the same and extremely relevant. So it's on the channel. A lot of programs give you a blueprint. They tell you exactly what they want to see in a statement on their website. So there's general outlines like 500 to 1,000 words, 1 to 2 pages double spaced. There are programs that say 750 words. Include this, this, this. Some like environmental studies, English, they lay it out. Film is another great one. Cinema and media studies. They say, tell me this in the statement. So always make sure you're using the program website as a resource and as your number one resource. Because again, committees in the program are making decisions. It's not a centralized thing. But you're showcasing that you're applying to this specific program at this specific school for a reason. Do not write a generic statement. I love history. Like, okay, and to what end? Proofreading is essential. So spelling, grammar, flow, comprehension. I have seen statements that are an application to New York University or an application to University of York, which I'm sure is lovely, but it's across the ocean. Make sure that you're calling everything by the proper name, referring to their correct school, et cetera, et cetera. If you are currently at a post-secondary institution or you graduated in the past, usually 1 to 2 years, use career services and writing services. They will help you with this. So the Writing Center within LAPS is such a hidden gem at York. They will help you with your statement of interest. They will help with your resume for graduate school applications at York or otherwise. So such a great resource. But yes, poorly written because so much of graduate school is going to be writing. They need to make sure they are accepting people who can write. Next up, not a good fit for a research topic or there's no supervisor availability. If you are applying to a program and you want to study a particular topic within that discipline, make sure it is something that York offers. So don't apply to do, and these are fake, but like don't apply to work with butyl rubber in the chemistry program if there is not a faculty member who does that. Don't apply to history if you want to study medieval for not medieval, history of the French Revolution and its effects, 1789 to 1850. Make sure that it's something the program does, or there's a faculty member who has agreed to support that topic. Some programs, usually STEM and or PhD, will require you to arrange a faculty supervisor before you apply. And faculty members are people. Like their availability shifts year to year, whether they are on parental leave, sabbatical, administrative duties. Like if someone becomes a dean or an associate dean or a program head, they are doing less teaching and researching because they are doing that job for that amount of time. So their capacity to supervise fluctuates. Therefore, program capacity fluctuates. Each faculty member, as I mentioned before, and by extension, then each graduate program can only support so many students well. And again, you want to be in a program where you're supported. You don't want to be just a student that a professor has that they see once every term. You're going to want more interaction than that. In the case of no supervisor ability, you can always apply in subsequent years. I know sometimes people email and they say, I have to go to this school and I have to go in this year to this program. It's the only chance. Sometimes that's the case and it maybe feel like the case. 1 year is not a lot of time. Sometimes waiting a year is the best thing you can do to get that fit between you, the program, the supervisor, the research. And I know it can be really frustrating to wait, but sometimes it is worth waiting. Really depends. Okay, so I can't stress enough. Grad school is not just for perfect students. Most programs read and assess every single complete application that they receive. Sometimes you are not refused admission because you did anything wrong. It's just the volume of applications is so high. Like for psychology, we're talking hundreds upon hundreds of applications for no more than 40 spots a year. And two of the most popular specializations are clinical and clinical developmental. Each of those specializations take no more than 8 students per year. So we're talking hundreds of apps, 8 spots. So we do not only admit applicants with an A+ average. We admit a lot of applicants with unique circumstances, but you do have to meet the program more than halfway to showcase your grad school readiness. So overall tips would be to highlight transferable skills, that you are forward focused on the future, you're dedicated, you're passionate, you are ready to pursue graduate education. Something I hear a lot is like, I want this so badly. I want to do this program. I need to do it. It's like, it's my dream. It's my life. It's the only thing I want. But you need to supplement that passion with action. You have to provide demonstrable results, which grades, etc., that the committee can use to assess your application. So it's much more like, this is what I've done. This is how I've achieved, not I will do this. You need to show proof. So can get very passionate about this topic. That's the end of the formal presentation. Gone through all of the possible reasons for refusal and how to kind of come back from that if you're in a situation where you're not feeling on level ground. We'll put it in the chat, but here are the Faculty of Graduate Studies social channels, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. YouTube especially, there is the How to Write a Statement of Interest video, but there are so many others there as well. So I mean, this one from February is there too. And then I'll leave it up on the admissions email, which you can email 24/7, 365, and we're happy to answer. But I do see a couple questions in the Q&A, so we'll turn to that now.